Hello there, and thanks in advance for watching. As always, today wanted to record a video to discuss a key strategy around savings that is specific to this time of the year, in our opinion, September 2023, which is when I'm recording this video. It's mega backdoor Roth season, as a lot of our clients know. So on this video, I wanted to discuss number one, what is the mega backdoor Roth strategy and what it isn't, sometimes confused with some other Roth savings strategies, how best to execute it. It's really a two-step process. And number three, some common pitfalls that I see when working with clients that come to us who may be familiar with some or part of the equation, but not all of it. So let's jump right into it. The mega backdoor Roth strategy. What is it? What am I talking about it? Why is it so significant? We wrote an article a while back that goes through a lot of the detail. I'll try to keep it a little more succinct on this one. The mega backdoor Roth saving strategy is available to some, with the keyword being some, participants in 401k plans. So really, these are a lot of our clients that are working for large, sometimes but not always, publicly traded companies that have a large employee headcount, a large company footprint. They're big players. That's really only available, from what we've seen, to employees at companies like those. What it allows you to do, in essence, in summary, is put additional savings away to your company 401k plan beyond the traditional limits that most people are familiar with. And then later, so that's step one of the two-step process I mentioned. And then step two, roll those dollars into a Roth IRA down the road, or hopefully, if executed perfectly, shortly thereafter, and invest those dollars hopefully for tax-free growth. So let's talk about the components and unpack that a little bit. So let's start by talking about the limits that likely most people are familiar with when it comes to 401k savings for 2023, sometimes referred to as defined contribution plans by the IRS, talking about 401k plans specifically in this instance. What most people are familiar with is the initial 401k limit that you can take money out of your paycheck and contribute to your company's 401k plan with. That limit is $22,500, and it applies to two different ways you can put money into your 401k. It applies to either pre-tax contributions, or sometimes known as traditional contributions, or it applies to Roth contributions. Again, mega backdoor Roth strategy is neither of those. This is just framework. So you're able to put away up to $22,500, regardless of your age, to a 401k plan this year, whether you do those traditional or your Roth contributions, or you're doing both. You can do half and half, doesn't matter. You can't do more than the 22.5 between those two sources. If you're age 50 or older, you can actually do what's called a catch up. A lot of people are familiar with that, up to $7,500. So if you're 50 or older, the total you can do for this year, $30,000 from your paycheck, pre-tax or Roth contributions. Got it. So those are the initial limits. A lot of people are familiar with those. However, what people are less familiar with is the second maximum limit that applies to any and all dollars that are added to a 401k plan in a given year. That limit for 2023 is $66,000. You're like, hang on a sec. We were just talking about $22,500. Then we were talking about $30,000. Now we're talking about $66,000. It's a big jump. So how did we get there? What am I talking about? How do you fill that gap? So let's talk about sources for a second. We already talked about the money that you are contributing from your paycheck, either in a pre-tax or Roth fashion, Roth contributory fashion. That goes towards the 22.5 or the 30,000 if you're 50 or older. Then your employer most likely is going to match you on some portion of those dollars. Let's say in the examples I'm going to use through this video that your employer matches up to $10,000. Forget the percentage they match, but the maximum dollar amount is going to be $10,000. Okay, so I'm not age 50, so you got 22,500 plus 10 from my employer. That's 32,500. Sometimes to make up that additional gap to the 66,000 number, employers will also provide a profit sharing contribution. That's a source of funding that could go towards that higher limit. So if you're participating in profits from the company via your 401k, but that's not what we're talking about either. What we're talking about here, for a lot of the clients that we work with at specific companies that we're familiar with, you can actually fill that gap in the example I just gave by making what are called after-tax contributions. So, just to delineate and keep everything organized, we've got your traditional or pre-tax contributions. You've got your Roth contributions. Those are both, again, specific to the 22,500 and or the 7,500 catch-up, 30,000 total. Your employer match, that's a separate amount. Then you have after-tax contributions. These are dollars that are coming out of your paycheck, again, just like your pre-tax or Roth. However, as the name implies, they are after tax, after you've paid your federal or applicable state taxes, any deductions that are coming out. After that, your new contribution gets made. So you're like, well, that sounds a lot like Roth contributions, does it not? It does. You're not wrong. Here's how they are markedly different, and here's how they coalesce with this mega backdoor Roth strategy. The after-tax piece, let's say, again, using the same example, you did 22,500. Your employer matched you $10,000. Now you elected after-tax contributions to your 401k. And let's say you put away $10,000 in after-tax contributions. So your total contributions were 32,500. You got another 10K. It's a great savings amount, by the way, in general. If you, that $10,000, where they differ from Roth contributions straight up, is those $10,000 will forever be a tax-free return of your own contributions in the future. So if 20 years go by and that $10,000 after-tax contribution grows to $50,000 from the investment earnings within your plan, and you withdraw that $50,000, the first 10,000 or the 10,000 of that 50 will not be taxable. It's a return of contributions you already made, remember, after tax. The other 40,000 would be taxable as income. So same as if you took pre-tax traditional income, traditional distributions from your 401k or a traditional IRA, same tax treatment. So how do you avoid that? That's the second step. And this is where I find what I'll hesitate to say the most common mistake in the strategy, but I think the most probably just less understood or overlooked. This is sort of the key component to getting the mega backdoor Roth strategy to work for you. So using the same examples, okay, I did 22,500 pre-tax, another $10,000 from my company. I did another $10,000 to my after-tax portion. Now, let's say I did it now, September 2023 through December 2023. What I'm able to do is in January, and really before that technically, but we always do it in January with our clients. You can call your custodian. A lot of these plans are through Fidelity or Vanguard and some of these big institutions. So we're super familiar with the process there. You would call Fidelity, let's say in this case, and you would say, hello, Fidelity representative. I made after-tax contributions to my 401k, as you can see. I'd like to now move those contributions into my Roth IRA. Back up for a second. Why are you doing that in the first place? Remember, the after-tax contributions will always be a return of capital to you, tax-free. Any earnings, if they stay in your 401k plan, will be taxable to you in the future. So how do you get better tax treatment on them? Well, you get them into a Roth IRA. And your plan will determine if you can do that. But again, the clients that we're familiar with and the companies that we're familiar with that do this allow you to do this. So you've got your contributions you made. They didn't have much of an opportunity to grow between September and January, which is actually a nice component for you. And in January, you're going to call and you're going to roll those over into a Roth IRA. You either have one set up or you open a Roth IRA, no big deal. That, in a nutshell, is the mega backdoor Roth strategy. Now, to put some numbers on it, just to fine tune, so everyone's aware, this is a really obviously significant avenue to get Roth dollars that you may otherwise have been unable to save. The $66,000 maximum limit to a 401k plan this year, and the delta I use in this example, 22,500 plus 10,000 from your employer, That leaves a delta of 33,500 to that $66,000 limit, which means in theory, you could fill that entire delta, 33,500, with after tax contributions, all of which could then be moved to a Roth IRA via rollover while you're still working. So think about that. 30, call it $30,000 a year. You do that now for the next 10 years, assuming Congress doesn't change this strategy or poo-poo it in some case. That is a heck of a lot of money that will grow tax-free, hopefully aggressively for someone over time that they will not have to pay taxes on in the future. That's significant. And like I said, that second piece of rolling it over is where most people just forget, or they're always doing after-tax contributions, which is not what we recommend. We recommend doing your regular pre-tax or Roth. Get those done, get them handled, do your max, then do the after-tax. Give yourself, it's kind of a balancing act because you want as few months as possible to put as much of those savings away without letting them earn too much, so that you can roll as much of it cleanly into a Roth IRA. Now let's talk about if it does, just briefly, if you do have investment earnings on those dollars. So you put away 10K to an after-tax bucket between now and the end of the year, and you earn $2,000 in investment earnings. If you call Fidelity in the example I gave or whoever and say, hey, I want to roll over these funds, they're going to say, okay, you have actually $12,000 available to roll over. $2,000 are earnings, their investment earnings. If you want to be nitpicky and super clean with your tax strategy, you could just roll that $2,000 into a traditional IRA. That way you have no tax event. For me, I'm probably just going to convert it. I'm just going to say, look, move the whole 12K into my Roth IRA. At the end of the year for the following tax year, you'll get a 1099 for $2,000 of a pre-tax traditional IRA, pre-tax retirement distribution. So what? It's not a penalty. You're just going to pay income tax on it. It's $2,000 in that example. Not that big of a deal. But that's why you also want to do it over a shorter period of time, so the earnings don't have a really much of a chance to accumulate. So coming up on 12 minutes, just explaining what it is. And I guess I did touch on how to do it. Now, a couple things to note. We work with a lot of folks who have these plans at either Fidelity or Vanguard or Empower. We're super familiar with how it works. I could, in my sleep, walk you through how to do it. So call us, let us know how we can help. We can walk you through it in literally 30 seconds, how to set it up, what you're going to do, put a reminder in for January, all that kind of stuff. One of the other reasons I always bring it up is this has been kicked around as something Congress pays attention to. They may try to close the loop at some point and make it less available. The Wall Street Journal has written about it in the past. I find that to be less likely after they passed the Secure Act 2.0 at the end of 2022. It seems like Congress is actually trying to get more dollars into Roth accounts and trying to help the retirement crisis we have on our hands in the US. But that's not to say that'll always be the case. So because of that too, I always say, like, just take advantage of it. You never know when this might go away, might no longer be available. The last couple things I want to touch on, hopefully finish this up before it reaches 15 minutes, is what this is not. What this is not, what a mega backdoor Roth strategy is not. It's not a regular backdoor Roth. A regular backdoor Roth, which I won't go into detail here, but is specific to the IRA limits, which are much lower for 2023. They're $6,500, way lower than the potentially $33,500 I gave in my example. So that's totally different. And there are all kinds of nuances to consider with that one that we can also walk you through. What a mega backdoor Roth contribution is also not, is it's not a Roth conversion. So we get this all the time. I talk to a prospective client. I'm like, hey, have you heard of this? It's available at your company. Are you taking advantage of it? And they're like, oh, I can't do Roth contributions. I can't do. And I'm like, well, I think you're probably a little mistaken, or you've gotten bad information, because number one, regardless of your income, that has to do with your IRA contributions. Yes, when you hit a certain income limit, you're making too much money, you can't contribute directly to a Roth IRA. We're talking about 401ks here. You can always contribute Roth as long as your company allows you to. Roth contributions to a 401k. If you make $1 million a year, $500,000 a year, $2 million, it doesn't matter. There is no restriction there. And furthermore, there's no restriction on the after-tax piece. With a Roth conversion, all a Roth conversion is, again, I won't get into that, but it's just moving money from a pre-tax, never been taxed before retirement account to a Roth IRA. So you got $100,000 in a traditional IRA, you move it to a Roth IRA, that's a Roth conversion. You're converting those dollars. You're choosing to pay your taxes on them now to get tax-free growth on them and take them out in the future. That's not this either. There's a lot of different, I guess, Roth saving strategies. Mega back to a Roth strategy specific to your 401k, specific to after tax contributions. Give us a shout. You got to be taking advantage. If you have this available to you, you have to take advantage of this, especially if you have the savings capacity, the cash flow, the income to do it. It's an absolute no-brainer. It's an otherwise unavailable way that most people don't have available, I should say, to put money into, the king of retirement accounts, in our opinion, which are Roth IRAs. So anyway, spent enough time walking through this. Reach out to us with questions. Reach out to us if you want us to help you walk through this. Reach out to us if you aren't sure if it's available to you. If you're at a specific company, I can tell you for a fact that it is available. Most of the clients we're sending this video to, hint, hint, yes, you have it available to you. So yeah, hope you found this helpful. Feel free to share it with colleagues, family, anybody who else would enjoy it. And we will talk soon. Thank you so much.